1998 saw the release of such films as The Big Lebowski, Saving Private Ryan, The Waterboy, Half-Baked, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, There's Something About Mary, American History X, Rush Hour, A Night at the Roxbury, Rounders, Patch Adams, The Truman Show, SLC Punk, Dirty Work, and Armageddon. In the record store, significant releases of the year were Hello Nasty by the Beastie Boys, Mutations by Beck, Celebrity Skin by Hole, Follow the Leader by Korn, Capital Punishment by Big Pun, It's Dark and Hell is Hot by DMX, Mechanical Animals by Marilyn Manson, Volume 2 Hard Knock Life by Jay-Z, Yield by Pearl Jam, This Is My Truth, Tell Me Yours by the Manic Street Preachers, the debut albums by System of a Down and Godsmack, Hellbilly Deluxe by Rob Zombie, Power Trip by Monster Magnet, Garage Inc. by Metallica, Elephant Riders by Clutch, and Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood, another release by DMX. On television, we saw shows such as Dawson's Creek, Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, True Life, Cat Dog, Teletubbies, Celebrity Deathmatch, Sex and the City, Whose Line Is It Anyway, That 70s Show, Pokemon, King of Queens, Will and Grace, Felicity, Charmed, The Powerpuff Girls, Comedy Central Presents, and we saw the finale of Seinfeld. Both the World Wrestling Federation and World Championship Wrestling were riding high and competing in the Monday Night Wars. Stone Cold Steve Austin ruled the WWF, while Bill Goldberg had a meteoric rise to supremacy. But all this paled in comparison to what was happening in Extreme Championship Wrestling. Now solidified on pay-per-view as the number 3 company on the planet, ECW was ready to break all the rules and rise as the true rebel force in pro wrestling. Join us on this trip as we journey back to ECW in 1998, Part 1. The January 6th edition of ECW TV began with the Great Sasuke battling Tiger Mask 4. Just Incredible and Jason came to ringside, taunting Sasuke. Sasuke dove over the ropes with a springboard plancha. Credible fled the scene, while Sasuke crashed onto Jason. Back in the ring, Sasuke was victorious with a vicious Thunder Fire Bomb. Jason introduced his newest squeeze, the muscular behemoth Nicole Bass of Howard Stern fame. Bass proceeded to powerbomb Just Incredible's opponent, Pablo Marquez. The Dudley Boys battled Spike Dudley and New Jack in an all-out war throughout the Madhouse of Extreme. Big Dick Dudley battled along as weapons were brought into play. It became a 3-on-1 beatdown, with the Dudleys hitting the 3D on New Jack for the victory. Post-match, Dick chokeslammed Spike through the Timekeeper's table. John Kronus made his return, attacking the Dudleys. Lance Wright introduced his bodyguard, WWF developmental talent, Brackus, who made quick work of Paul Diamond. Wright proceeded to bury Diamond under a WWF flag. At that, Taz made his entrance, with referee Jeff Jones telling him to leave as this wasn't his match. Taz didn't budge, with Jones weakly slapping him across the face. Jones tried a second time, with Taz nailing him with a T-bone Tazplex. Brackus and Taz circled, with Sabu and Rob Van Dam attacking the World Television Champion from behind. The Sandman raced in, swinging his Singapore cane until Doug Furnas and Philip LaFawn attacked from behind. RVD and Sabu then nailed Sandman with Rolling Thunder. Tommy Dreamer raced in, but was quickly stomped out. Al Snow saved the day, clobbering the villains with his mannequin head. Snow bobbed head around as the crowd erupted. Dreamer declared he, Sandman, Taz, and Al Snow as Team Extreme and challenged RVD, Sabu, Furnas, and LaFawn. Taz objected, saying he does what he wants when he wants, and he may or may not show up for the match. The main event was dubbed as Team Titan versus Team Extreme, with no sign of Taz at the start of the bout. Bill Alfonso rubbed it in, saying disparaging remarks about Taz. That's all it took, with Taz making his big entrance to commence a wild brawl. Amidst the chaos, Sabu put Sandman through a table with a triple jump leg drop on the floor. Sabu followed it up by jumping on Dreamer with a springboard plancha into the second row. Meanwhile, RVD, Furnas, and LaFawn pounded on Sandman with Taz standing on the apron waiting for a tag. Taz got the tag, cleaned house, and nailed Sabu with a T-bone Tazplex. Sabu attacked with a chair, but Taz ultimately locked in the Taz mission. Brackus interfered, with Taz immediately attacking, leading to a pull-apart brawl all the way to the locker room. Back in the ring, Alfonso and Beulah brawled until Sabu nailed Beulah with a clothesline. Furnas and LaFawn attempted to suplex her until Snow clobbered them with head. Snow rolled up LaFawn and scored a victory for Team Extreme. The main event of the January 10th House Party 98 ECW Arena show saw the Sandman and Sabu battle in the first ever Stairway to Hell match. Barbed wire hung from the ceiling and could be used once retrieved by a ladder which was set up in the middle of the ring. The ladder came into play quickly, with Sabu clobbering Sandman repeatedly with it. Sabu buried Sandman under the ladder and hit an Arabian facebuster off the top rope. Moments later, Sabu launched himself off of a chair, diving over the top rope and onto Sandman in the second row. They brawled through the crowd and onto the stage below Joey Styles on commentary. With Sandman laid out on a table, Sabu dove off a balcony with a leg drop, putting Sandman through the table. They brawled back to ringside, where Sandman suplexed the ladder onto Sabu in the front row. Sandman then used the ladder as a teeter-totter, swinging it up into Sabu's face. The tables surrounding the ring came into play, with both men using them to pummel one another. Sandman propped the ladder across the ring in a guardrail, laying Sabu onto it and dropping a brutal leg drop onto him. Back in the ring, Sandman ascended the ladder and retrieved the barbed wire. Sabu tipped the ladder over, sending Sandman crashing through two tables on the floor and getting an "oh my god" from Joey Styles. With barbed wire in hand, Sabu missed a triple jump splash, crashing into a steel guardrail, jaw first. The Sandman twisted the barbed wire around a corner of the ring until Sabu attacked him with a pair of scissors. Blood flowed quickly from the forehead of the Sandman, who Sabu tied in a tree of woe. Racing across the ring, Sabu drop-kicked a chair into the bloody face of Sandman. Sabu launched himself off a chair and dove at Sandman, who was in the barbed wire corner. Sandman moved, and Sabu was pierced by the barbed wire. Grabbing his Singapore cane, Sandman caned Sabu across the head. Bill Alfonso began to tape the jaw of Sabu, which was surely broken. Sabu whipped Sandman into the barbed wire and then nailed a triple jump moonsault. With the barbed wire on Sandman's head, Sabu dropped a big leg drop. Sabu failed with an Arabian facebuster, allowing a bloody Sandman to stagger to his feet. With his head wrapped in barbed wire, Sandman swung for the fences, knocking out Sabu with a vicious shot from the Singapore cane. Sandman scored the pinfall victory to win a violent war. The January 13th episode of ECW TV featured matches from House Party 98, beginning with Al Snow making a grand entrance with Head. A sea of styrofoam heads bounced in the crowd as Snow competed against Roadkill. Snow was victorious, using Head to score a pinfall victory. Triple Threat member and one half of the ECW Tag Team Champions, Chris Candido, squared off with Jerry Lynn. It was a fast-paced, scientific encounter that saw Lynn shine. Lynn hit a beautiful dive off the top rope onto Candido in the second row. A misstep by Lynn saw the momentum change as he didn't clear the guardrail on a second dive, folding himself over the steel. It didn't slow Lynn down as he soon made Candido submit, pulling at his injured arm. Medics attended to Candido, with Lynn concerned for his injured opponent. The two shook hands following the bout, with Candido then whisked away by doctors. In the main event, the Great Sasuke battled Just Incredible, who had Jason and Nicole Bass in his corner. Prior to the bell, Jason declared Bass the love of his life, making out with her in the middle of the ring. The bell rang, and Sasuke wasted no time in exacting revenge on Credible. Jason shifted the momentum, distracting Sasuke and allowing Credible to dodge a dive. Sasuke's knee was hurt, and Credible took full advantage of the injury. Credible smashed Sasuke's knee with a chair and applied a figure 4 on him around the ring post. In the ring, Credible sandwiched the injured knee of Sasuke in a chair. He used a second chair to hammer the initial chair around Sasuke's ankle. Credible continued to exploit the injury, with Sasuke writhing in pain. After Sasuke missed a Phoenix Splash, Credible nailed him with That's Incredible to score the pinfall victory. Following the bout, Jason wrapped a chair around Sasuke's leg, stomping on it repeatedly. Credible tugged at Sasuke's mask until Gran Hamada made the save. It didn't matter, as Credible soon laid out Hamada with That's Incredible. Members of the locker room raced in to stop the madness, but the damage was already done. The January 20th episode of ECW TV featured more matches from House Party 98. Things kicked off with Joey Styles introducing the World Television Champion, Taz. Lance Wright interrupted, saying his mommy told him to look past Taz and move on to bigger and better things. Wright introduced the man who he said would regain the television title, the returning Too Cold Scorpio. As the fans chanted "You sold out" at Scorpio, he informed Styles to announce that he shed himself of his Flash Funk gimmick from the WWF and is now back on the home team. This angered Wright, with Scorpio making quick work of the arrogant young punk. The match was official, with Taz and Scorpio competing for the coveted title. They didn't keep it scientific for long, with Scorpio introducing a steel chair and repeatedly bashing Taz. He nailed a powerbomb and a big splash, but couldn't keep the human suplex machine down. A somersault leg drop off the second rope failed, and Scorpio was soon laid out by Taz. Scorpio fought back and hit a beautiful moonsault off the top rope, only gaining a 2 count. After hitting a 450 splash, Scorpio decided to further wear down Taz. It was a mistake, with Taz soon making Scorpio tap out in the Taz mission. Following the bout, Doug Furnas stood up for Wright and attacked Scorpio. Taz made the save, laying out Furnas with a belly-to-belly Tazplex. Brackus rushed to the ring, but was laid out by a T-bone Tazplex. Wright and his men retreated, while Taz and Scorpio were left standing in the ring. Taz got on the microphone and praised the skills of Scorpio, saying he's always welcome in the ECW locker room. They shook hands, with Scorpio holding the ropes open for Taz. In the main event, Bam Bam Bigelow battled Rob Van Dam, who had the whistle-blowing Bill Alfonso in his corner. RVD made Bigelow wobbly with a flurry of kicks, but the Beast from the East overpowered the ECW turncoat and tossed him around with ease. The battle went to the floor, with RVD using his quickness and agility to send Bigelow into the front row. RVD got a running start, leaping over the guardrail with a dive onto Bigelow. Scaling to the top rope, RVD dove all the way into the crowd and onto Bigelow. RVD followed it up with a plancha all the way into the crowd onto the big man. Back in the ring, Bigelow overpowered RVD but failed to connect with his own aerial maneuvers. Frustrated by the incessant whistleblowing of Alfonso, Bigelow snatched him up and tossed him at RVD. Bigelow dodged a Van Daminator, which caught referee John Pee Wee Moore. After launching RVD off the apron with a chair, Bigelow soon found himself fending off Chris Candido. Bigelow spiked Candido with greetings from Asbury Park. Sunny raced into the ring, with Bigelow hoisting her up. Francine ran in and soon found herself on top of Bigelow's other shoulder. The ECW World Heavyweight Champion, the franchise Shane Douglas, ran in from behind and took out the leg of Bigelow. A stare-down ensued, with RVD taking out Bigelow from behind with a leaping sidekick off the top rope. He followed it up by nailing Bigelow with a 5-star frog splash, scoring the pinfall victory. The January 27th episode of ECW TV began with the franchise Shane Douglas cutting a promo in his hometown of Pittsburgh. He said that he suffered an elbow injury in the match against Bam Bam Bigelow at the November to Remember. With Francine by his side, Douglas said that multiple doctors have told him that he's all done. Douglas said that he's done listening to doctors and state athletic commissions and he's refusing to retire. Joey Styles introduced the fans to the show only to be interrupted by Bam Bam Bigelow. He was furious that Shane Douglas wasn't retiring, saying that he needs to find a partner to fight the triple threat. Bigelow marched into the locker room looking for a partner. Al Snow offered, arguing with Head, with Bigelow walking away. Bigelow confronted Taz, saying he needs help to fight the triple threat. Taz said he does what he wants, when he wants, and returned to his dressing room. Bigelow pounded on the door, saying he needs Taz's help. A Pulp Fiction montage aired, beginning with RVD cutting a promo in the gym with Bill Alfonso and members of the United States Weightlifting Association. He demonstrated the Van Damme lift, doing a split between 2 weight benches and lifting a dumbbell hammer curl style. RVD set the record for the lift that he created, lifting 166.5 pounds. As Fonzie blew the whistle in celebration, RVD looked into the camera and said, "I never claimed to be the showstopper. I'm Rob Van Dam. I'm the whole effing show." Shane Douglas stood with Chris Candido, Francine, and triple threat prospect Lance Storm. Douglas cut a scathing promo on Bam Bam Bigelow. He said that everything about the triple threat has always been a shoot. Douglas said that the triple threat would raise their 3 fingers in the air in a symbol of solidarity at the hostile city showdown. Al Snow had a conversation with Head while hanging upside down. Snow said, "Who knew that all you needed in your life was a little head to turn your life around?" Bam Bam Bigelow marched outside to confront Taz as he left the arena. He said that this was Taz's chance to prove himself. Bigelow begged on his knees for Taz to be his partner. Taz yelled at him to get on his feet, eventually agreeing to be Bigelow's partner. After they win, Taz said he's giving Bigelow a shot at the television title. Bigelow said, "Are you gonna be my partner?" Taz said, "No, I'm gonna be your savior." The February 3rd edition of ECW TV featured footage from the Hostile City Showdown. ECW World Heavyweight Champion Shane Douglas and ECW Tag Team Champions Chris Candido and Lance Storm faced Bam Bam Bigelow and the ECW World Television Champion Taz. The match began with Bigelow manhandling Storm, tossing him around with ease. Douglas tagged in, with Taz begging for the tag. The 2 champions jockeyed for position, with Taz taking down Douglas and the ECW Tag Team Champions soon after. Taz belly-to-belly Tazplexed Douglas over the top rope and onto Candido. Out of nowhere, Bigelow clobbered Taz from behind with the television title and put the boots to him. Douglas and Candido joined in on the beatdown, with Storm looking confused. Candido then waffled Storm with a tag team title and began assaulting him. A pile driver onto the title followed. The new triple threat raised their hands, with Bigelow officially revealed as the third member. Taz took down Bigelow, but soon got attacked by Douglas and Candido. Bigelow clobbered Taz on the face with the television title. Douglas hovered over Taz, proclaiming himself the true world champion. Just Incredible battled Gran Hamada, wearing the Great Sasuke's mask as he nailed Hamada with That's Incredible to win the match. The triple threat cut a promo backstage, with Shane Douglas calling Taz a sucker. He then called Lance Storm a mark, with Candido saying his partner tried to steal his glory and his girl. They all raised their 3 fingers, laughing maniacally to close out the broadcast. The February 10th episode of ECW TV began with Taz cutting a promo on Bam Bam Bigelow, thanking him for smartening him up. Taz said that the only marks are the people in Asbury Park that still think Bigelow is a hero. He then admitted that he was a mark for the World Television Championship, saying it's the only belt that really means anything. Taz told Bigelow to be prepared for their match at Living Dangerously on March 1st. The Sandman and Tommy Dreamer came to the ring drinking beer with Beulah by their side. Their opponents were the Dudley Boys, who stood in full force in the corner of the ring. Sandman took the microphone and dedicated the match to the recently departed grandfather of Tommy Dreamer. The crowd began to chant Tommy, who became emotional, shedding tears. Dreamer's grandfather was the one that gave him the money to go to wrestling school. Sandman toasted Grandpa Joe, with the bell beginning to toll in memoriam. Just Incredible interrupted the count, saying, "The only thing that I wish is that it was you that died instead of your worthless, stupid grandfather." Dreamer lunged at Credible, resulting in a pull-apart brawl. Beulah slapped Credible, with Jason dragging him away. The February 17th edition of ECW TV picked up where the prior week left off, with the match between the Sandman and Tommy Dreamer against the Dudley Boys taking place. Order was lost quickly, with Big Dick Dudley getting involved. Soon, New Jack and John Kronus interfered with garbage cans full of weapons to make it a 3-way dance. Kronus hit a huge splash off the top rope, putting Devon Dudley through a table. Out came Rob Van Dam and Sabu to make the bout a 4-way dance. Pandemonium ensued, with RVD and Sabu soon putting Kronus and New Jack through a table with flying leg drops off the top rope. This was enough to put Kronus and Jack away, being the first team eliminated. Dreamer and Sandman rolled up the Dudleys, scoring the 3 count to eliminate the team. Meanwhile, Just Incredible attacked Mikey Whipwreck on the stage. Credible taunted Dreamer, who raced through the crowd to get at him. They brawled, with members of the locker room pulling them apart. RVD connected with a 5-star frog splash onto the Sandman. Sabu followed it up by grabbing a chair and hitting Sandman with an Arabian facebuster to score the pinfall victory. Beulah cut a promo on Just Incredible, saying that everything you achieve comes with a price. A music video played, highlighting all of the most brutal moments of Tommy Dreamer's career. Taz cut a promo on Bam Bam Bigelow, calling him a big schmuck from New Jersey. He then talked about his upcoming encounter with Brackus at Cyberslam. Taz said he doesn't like Brackus because he didn't pay his dues. He closed by saying that he was going to choke out Bigelow in his hometown. Taz ended by saying, "Beat me if you can, Bam Bam. Survive if I let you." The triple threat interrupted Joey Styles with a frantic Chris Candido challenging Lance Storm to find a tag team partner to face him at Living Dangerously. A vignette aired with Al Snow and Head on the beach in Florida. Snow was buried up to his neck in sand, saying it was worse than when Vince buried him in the WWF. Chris Candido named his dream tag team partner for Living Dangerously, the ECW World Heavyweight Champion, Shane Douglas. The February 24th episode of ECW TV featured matches from Cyberslam, with the show beginning with the entire roster in the ring. Paul Heyman led them in paying tribute to the recently departed Louis Spicolli with a 10-bell salute. Joey Styles began the show, only to be interrupted by the triple threat, Francine and Sunny. Shane Douglas cut a promo on Lance Storm, demanding to know who he'd be teaming with at Living Dangerously. Chris Candido told him not to worry, since he'll take care of Storm. Candido then went on a paranoid tirade, saying that Storm was trying to steal Sunny. It ended with Candido so mad that he demanded to know who Storm's partner was going to be. Sunny told them to calm down, since she knows who the partner is. However, she wasn't going to say who it was, since it's supposed to be a mystery. Candido was irate, saying he can't handle her secrets. The men then separated the ladies, who were ready to claw at one another. Taz defended the World Television title against Lance Wright's bodyguard, Brackus. Former Denver Bronco Darren Drozdov got involved, setting up a table in the corner. Taz took advantage of it, putting Brackus through it with a T-bone Tazplex. A German Tazplex wasn't far after, with Taz then applying the Taz mission. Brackus tapped, with Taz retaining his championship. Highlights were shown of a first blood match between Tommy Dreamer and Just Incredible. Dreamer battered Credible around the arena. Back in the ring, Dreamer wrapped himself in barbed wire and hit a splash off the top rope onto Credible. Dreamer picked up a trash can, which was soon bounced off his face, courtesy of a leaping sidekick from Rob Van Dam. RVD raked the barbed wire across the forehead of Dreamer, which then allowed Credible to use the trash can to waffle Dreamer. Beulah got in his face, with Credible nailing her with That's Incredible. Dreamer was busted open, with the referee stopping the match. An angry Dreamer used the barbed wire to bust open Jason, rendering him a bloody mess. The tag team champions squared off against one another as Chris Candido battled Lance Storm. It was an exciting, hard-hitting bout that saw Storm put away Candido with the blonde bombshell in a jaw-dropping moment to win the match. New Jack cut a promo in an alley, hyping himself as the most violent man in wrestling. He said, "The difference between me and the next guy, I never deny." Taz cut a promo about how hard he's been training while Bam Bam Bigelow is doing media appearances. He said that he believes that the odds are against him. Taz said he was going to hook the Taz mission on Bigelow and make him tap in his hometown. Living Dangerously took place live on pay-per-view on March 1st from the Asbury Park Convention Center. Footage aired of Taz arriving to the building earlier in the day. With the World Television Championship over his shoulder, Taz looked around the empty arena and said, "I'm ready." Lance Wright led Doug Furnas to the ring, saying he convinced Vince McMahon to buy out Wing Kanemaru's contract for this match. Furnas would be facing FMW standout Masato Tanaka. Despite having the match won numerous times, Furnas listened to the advice of Wright to keep pummeling on Tanaka. The advice didn't pay off, as Tanaka won the bout with a roaring elbow. Wright was furious, getting in the face of Furnas, threatening that he wasn't going to give a good report to Jim Ross and Vince McMahon. Furnas laid out Wright with a lariat, and then told him to tell Vince to kiss his ass. After putting on an ECW shirt, Furnas left the ring to cheers. Rob Van Dam battled Too Cold Scorpio, with Joey Styles on commentary saying that RVD was poised to be the next big star in this business. RVD and Scorpio won the crowd over with high risk and high impact maneuvers. On the ramp, RVD nailed Scorpio with a Van Daminator. Scorpio soon pile drove RVD onto the ramp. After a struggle, Scorpio kicked RVD on top of referee John Finnegan. RVD moved, and Scorpio hit a big splash off the top rope onto Finnegan. An arrogant RVD went for a 450 splash with Scorpio moving. Scorpio then nailed his signature 450 splash onto RVD, but the referee still remained unconscious. Sabu raced to the ring and nailed an Arabian facebuster off the top rope onto Scorpio. Finnegan awoke to make the count for RVD's pinfall attempt, with Scorpio miraculously kicking out. The Sandman raced to the ring, chasing off Sabu with a Singapore cane. After a back and forth exchange, RVD rolled up Scorpio for the victory. After the match, RVD got on the microphone and said, "Scorpio, this was a great experience for both of us. Obviously, a better experience for Rob Van Dam." RVD bragged about his victory, insulting Scorpio, but then asking to shake his hand. Scorpio shook RVD's hand and raised his arm, but ultimately attacked. Sabu ambushed Scorpio and then brought a table into the ring. With Scorpio on the table, Sabu and RVD ascended to two corners. The Sandman attacked with a Singapore cane and then hit Sabu with a Heineken Rana through the edge of the table. RVD, Sabu, and Bill Alfonso retreated, leaving the former tag team champions in the ring. Scorpio said, "There ain't no place like kicking butt in the ECW." Sandman offered Scorpio a beer and danced with him as Joey Styles on commentary mocked Sandman's dance moves. The Dudley Boys came to the ring, with Joel Gertner giving them a salacious introduction. Balls Mahoney and Axel Rotten interrupted, equipped with custom steel chairs. Bubba Ray and Devon began brawling with the chair-swinging freaks. Big Dick Dudley got involved, choke-slamming Axel, while Bubba clobbered Balls with his own chair. New Jack and Spike Dudley raced to the ring with weapons, making this a three-way dance. pandemonium ensued, with multiple weapon shots leading to blood spill. Balls and Axel clobbered Bubba and Devon with chairs. New Jack broke a wooden crutch over the crotch of Devon. The three teams took the fight through the crowd, with Joey Styles describing it as an orgy of violence. Balls and Axel laid the Dudleys onto tables, while New Jack and Spike stood atop a balcony high above. They both leapt off, putting Bubba and Devon through the tables simultaneously, with the crowd erupting in an ECW chant. The fight made its way back to the ring, where Spike put Balls through a table with a tornado DDT. Bubba press slammed Spike over the top rope and onto Axel. The Dudleys then nailed Balls with 3D, pinning him successfully for an elimination. Jack and Spike smashed guitars simultaneously over the heads of the Dudleys. Jack dove off the top rope, slamming a chair onto the face of Devon and scoring the pinfall victory. After giving adult film star Jenna Jameson the cold shoulder, Justin Credible came to the ring with his entourage to battle Tommy Dreamer. After planting a kiss on Jameson, Dreamer took the fight to Credible. Dreamer battered Credible in the crowd and then took the fight to the ramp. He slingshotted Credible into a folding chair. Credible followed it up by knocking Dreamer off the ramp, landing crotch first on a steel guardrail. In the ring, Credible nailed Dreamer with a reverse DDT onto a steel chair. He then leapt off the top rope, only for Dreamer to kick a chair into the face of Credible. Dreamer nailed a Spicoli driver, with Jason preventing him from making the pinfall. This allowed Credible to nail Dreamer with That's Incredible. Beulah made her way to the ring, taking out both Credible and Jason. Nicole Bass shook Beulah around mercilessly, until an injured Mikey Whipwreck hobbled to the ring and hit Bass with a whippersnapper. Credible viciously hit Mikey with a wooden crutch, only for Dreamer to nail Credible with a DDT to score the pinfall victory. Taz put the World Television Championship on the line against the hometown hero, Bam Bam Bigelow. After a tense stare-down, Taz took down Bigelow and clotheslined him over the top rope and through the timekeeper's table. Taz dove over the top rope, with Bigelow catching him and ramming him into the steel ring post. Back in the ring, Taz nailed Bigelow with a lariat to regain the advantage. He then back body dropped Bigelow over the top rope and onto the ramp. Taz nailed Bigelow with a T-bone Tazplex off the ramp and into the crowd. Falling with the move, Taz smashed the back of his head onto the steel guardrail below. That didn't slow him down as they battled through the crowd and back to the ring, where Bigelow hit a moonsault off the top rope onto Taz. Bigelow brought the remains of the timekeeper's table into the ring. Taz fought out of a powerbomb attempt and put Bigelow through the table face first. Bigelow battled back, and the fight spilled back to the arena floor. Making their way back into the ring, Bigelow went for greetings from Asbury Park. Taz wiggled out of the move and locked in the Taz mission. Despite tapping out of view of the official, Bigelow heaved his body backwards. This sent both champion and challenger crashing through the ring and to the floor below. Row by row, fans jumped to their feet. Referee John Finnegan looked on, bewildered. After a few moments, Bigelow emerged from the hole in the ring, dragging Taz out and pinning him to score the victory. Bigelow was crowned the new World Television Champion. The rest of the Triple Threat joined Bigelow in the ring to celebrate his championship victory. After arguing with Paul Heyman about if they were allowed to show the Sandman and Sabu's dueling cane match, Joey Styles agreed to pitch to the pre-taped bout that was originally deemed too violent by the pay-per-view providers. The Sandman made his entrance with Sabu racing in with a Singapore cane. After caning Sabu repeatedly, the truth was revealed. In the ring was Rob Van Dam, disguised as Sabu. The real Sabu raced in from behind, attacking Sandman, while Bill Alfonso assisted RVD out of the ring. Sabu set up a chair and hit a double jump springboard plancha onto Sandman on the ramp. He hit another diving plancha off the ramp onto Sandman on the arena floor. Sabu laid a table across two adjoining guardrails and laid Sandman onto it. He leapt off the top rope, putting Sandman through the table. Sabu battled back and hit a triple jump moonsault onto Sandman on the ramp. Sandman whipped Sabu into a table, knocking out the referee who was standing behind him. With Sabu set up on the table, Sandman prepared for something big. RVD raced down the ramp, dove over Sabu, and kicked Sandman in the face. Falling backwards, RVD accidentally put Sabu through the table. Sabu recovered and threw a chair onto Sandman's chest, with RVD hitting a huge 5-star frog splash. Sabu set Sandman onto a table on the ramp. Both he and RVD dove off opposite corners, putting Sandman through the table with dueling leg drops. Sabu dragged Sandman into the ring and scored the pinfall victory. In the main event, Chris Candido and his dream tag team partner, the ECW World Heavyweight Champion, the franchise Shane Douglas, faced Lance Storm and his dream partner, Chris Candido's girlfriend, Sunny. Racing down the ramp, Storm dove over the top rope, double clotheslining Douglas and Candido to start the match. Sunny tagged in and turned on Storm, clobbering him with a cookie sheet. A beatdown ensued on Storm, with the fans chanting, "We want head." Out came Al Snow, with a sea of styrofoam heads bobbing throughout the arena. Snow used head to clean house, eventually throwing Douglas into the hole in the ring. One snowplow later, and Al Snow scored a pinfall victory over the World Heavyweight Champion. Snow celebrated by raising head high in the air, with the fans tossing the styrofoam heads into the ring. The show ended with Joey Styles on commentary saying, "We're all getting head in Asbury Park." Paul Heyman read a statement on the March 3rd episode of ECW TV regarding the World Tag Team titles, currently held by the feuding Chris Candido and Lance Storm. Heyman said that he could care less whether they like one another or not. They will remain the champions until a better team comes along to beat them. He said that if Storm or Candido tried to pull a fast one on him, they would be fired. The Triple Threat and Francine stood in front of an ECW banner bragging about Bam Bam Bigelow's victory at Living Dangerously. ECW World Heavyweight Champion Shane Douglas cut a promo on Al Snow, with the champion needing to know who truly was the better man. Douglas challenged Snow to face him one-on-one. They all held 3 fingers in the air, celebrating their allegiance to the Triple Threat. The March 10th edition of ECW TV featured a Pulp Fiction montage, which saw a paranoid Shane Douglas pacing around and talking to himself. Douglas claimed that Al Snow was playing head games with him and hyped their upcoming match at Wrestlepalooza. The March 17th episode of ECW TV took place in Queens, New York, and began with Paul Heyman cutting a promo in the ring and riling up the fans. Heyman discussed how hard it's been for them to get on pay-per-view and how the fans helped them achieve that goal. He announced that they'd cleared Cablevision, a major pay-per-view provider in the area. Joey Styles introduced the World Heavyweight Champion, the franchise Shane Douglas, and Francine. Styles began cracking jokes, saying that Wrestlepalooza would be the night of the living head. Douglas took offense and backed Styles into a corner. Francine pulled Douglas away by the ponytail, with the franchise getting physical with her. Chris Candido raced in, with Douglas throwing him aside. Bam Bam Bigelow ran in and physically restrained Douglas, escorting him away. Accompanied to the ring by his entourage, Just Incredible battled Tommy Dreamer, who had Beulah in his corner. Dreamer was ruthless, bouncing Credible off the steel guardrails. Beulah held a chair, with Dreamer slingshotting Credible into it. In the ring, Dreamer tied Jason in a tree of woe, drop-kicking a chair into his face. Credible attacked Dreamer, taking him down with a spear. He then hit a drop toe hold on Dreamer onto the back of a steel chair. Dreamer reversed an Irish whip, sending Credible crashing into a steel chair wedged in the corner. Jason, Chastity, and Nicole Bass attacked the referee, with Credible spiking Dreamer with That's Incredible. Credible dragged Beulah into the ring and attempted to hit her with the same move. Beulah wiggled free and hit Credible with a low blow. Chastity and Beulah engaged in a catfight, with Jason breaking it up and nailing Beulah with a stiff clothesline. Mikey Whipwreck raced to the ring and hit Jason with a whippersnapper. Credible suffered the same fate, with Dreamer nailing him with a DDT afterwards to score a pinfall victory. Nicole Bass planted a kiss on Dreamer, who attempted to piledrive her. Credible clobbered Whipwreck and Dreamer with a steel chair. Jason stomped on the injured knee of Whipwreck, while Bass forced Beulah to watch the beatdown. Credible attacked the leg of Dreamer, and then hit Whipwreck with That's Incredible on a steel chair. The Triple Threat was successful in 6-man tag action, but the World Heavyweight Champion Shane Douglas was less than pleased after the bout. Douglas riled up the hostile crowd, who said that he wasn't going to let the mind games of Al Snow get in his head. The fans began banging styrofoam heads together, with Douglas daring them to throw them in the ring. The fans tossed the heads at Douglas, who gouged at one of the eyes into the camera. Snow raced to the ring, clobbering Douglas with head. Douglas retreated, with Snow headbanging on the top rope. The March 24th edition of ECW TV began with Rob Van Dam and Bill Alfonso cutting promos, while Sabu grinded his teeth in the background. RVD hyped his upcoming confrontation with the World Television Champion Bam Bam Bigelow. Alfonso blew his whistle, Sabu pointed to the sky, and RVD pointed to himself with both thumbs to end the segment. Chris Candido and Lance Storm defended the World Tag Team titles against Jerry Lynn and Chris Chetti. Candido took exception to being announced second, doing his entrance over before going nose to nose with Storm. The referee separated them just as the ring introductions were made. Fighting and bickering continued, but a decent back and forth contest evolved. Candido accidentally backdropped Storm over the top rope and to the floor. He followed it up by pinning Chetti to score the victory. Following the match, Balls Mahoney and Axel Rotten confronted the champions. Both Candido and Storm went down to brutal chair shots. Bam Bam Bigelow and the franchise Shane Douglas raced in, but also got battered by Balls and Axel. Francine jumped on Axel's back, but soon saw Balls swinging a chair at her. Douglas kicked Balls low, but soon felt the steel chair of Axel. Bigelow attacked Balls and Axel, planting them both with greetings from Asbury Park. Candido made the cover, with Francine making the 3 count. Footage aired from a recent television title defense by Bam Bam Bigelow against Pablo Marquez. Taz hopped the guardrail, with Bigelow immediately exiting. Marquez was grateful for Taz, wanting a hug. Taz hugged him, but then nailed him with a T-bone Tazplex and a Taz mission. The Sandman made his entrance for his match against Bam Bam Bigelow. Taz confronted Bigelow prior to the bout, calling him the better man at living dangerously. He extended his hand to Bigelow, but not before saying the title would be back around his waist soon. The Sandman extended his hand to Taz, shaking hands. Bigelow attacked Sandman from behind to start the match, resulting in an all-out war. Tables and a ladder came into play, with the Singapore cane soon bounced off one another's bloody foreheads. Bigelow was victorious, drilling Sandman with greetings from Asbury Park. Al Snow sat in front of a white wall with head, reaching back with a marker and swirling it repeatedly. Underneath, written backwards, read, "Help me." Snow was in action against Rob Van Dam, with the fans in the ECW arena banging their styrofoam heads together. The match spilled into the crowd, where RVD hit a springboard somersault plancha onto Snow. Snow returned the favor, nailing an acai moonsault into the second row onto RVD. Back in the ring, Snow dodged a Van Daminator and clobbered RVD repeatedly with a steel chair. Bill Alfonso broke up a pinfall attempt, diving onto Snow with a chair. Snow got his hands on Fonzie, but soon went down to a Van Daminator. RVD missed a frog splash, with Snow hitting the snowplow. Sabu raced in, accidentally kicking a chair into the face of RVD. This allowed Snow to score the pinfall victory. The fans tossed the styrofoam heads into the ring, with Sabu and RVD arguing. Fonzie held them apart and smoothed things over, with cooler heads prevailing. RVD left Sabu hanging on a high five, exiting the ring. An irate Sabu ran up the ropes for a dive, with Fonzie gripping at his legs, while an oblivious RVD made his exit. The March 31st episode of ECW TV saw Bubba Ray Dudley battle Spike Dudley in a Dudleyville street fight. Spike was battered and bloody in short order, but put up a good fight. Devon and Big Dick Dudley interfered, laying out Spike. John Cronus made the save, taking out the three Dudley brothers, but soon fell victim to 3D. New Jack made his entrance with a trash can full of weapons, clobbering all of the opposing Dudleys. The battle waged on, with Sign Guy Dudley slapping New Jack across the face. Jack proceeded to break a guitar over Sign Guy's head. Spike hit an acid drop on Bubba through a table and scored the pinfall victory. Rob Van Dam cut a promo with Bill Alfonso and Sabu by his side. RVD hyped his upcoming encounter with the World Television Champion, Bam Bam Bigelow. Fonzie said that the belt was coming home to RVD, who said he'd let Sabu tell his friends he was champion too. RVD cut a cocky promo calling Bigelow the veteran, but said that he had a lot of momentum on his side. A Pulp Fiction montage aired with the full-blooded Italians betting on who would win, RVD or Bam Bam Bigelow. Chris Candido cut a frantic promo declaring himself the sole tag team champion. Shane Douglas hyped up Candido, cutting a promo on Lance Storm. The world champion then addressed Al Snow, with Francine sighing heavily in the background. Douglas said he can relate to Snow, as he was also held back in the WWF. He said that the heads and the mind games don't bother him. Douglas screamed into the camera, "The head doesn't bother me, Al Snow." He said he was the head of the Triple Threat. The April 7th edition of ECW TV emanated from Buffalo, New York, and featured Mikey Whipwreck against Just Incredible. Whipwreck attacked the left knee of Credible, which was apropos since the feud began with Credible injuring the left knee of Whipwreck. Back in the ring, Credible took control, with Jason getting on the microphone to taunt Whipwreck and insult the fans. Whipwreck gained the advantage, hitting Credible with a Franken Mikey off the top rope. He followed it up by hitting Credible with a whippersnapper off the top rope. Referee Jim Molyneux made the count, only for Jason to pull him out of the ring at 2. Whipwreck nailed whippersnappers on Jason and referee Jeff Jones. Chastity hit Whipwreck with a low blow, allowing Credible to nail That's Incredible and score the victory. After the match, Credible attacked the wounded knee of Whipwreck, with Tommy Dreamer racing to the ring with a chair for the save. In the main event, Rob Van Dam challenged Bam Bam Bigelow for the ECW World Television Championship. RVD's aerial offense took down the Beast from the East in the early minutes. Bigelow used his brute force to gain the advantage and take the fight to the floor. It wasn't long before Bigelow sent RVD sailing over the guardrail and into the third row. RVD stopped Bigelow in his tracks, ramming him jaw first onto a guardrail. He followed by nailing a Hurricanrana on Bigelow into a group of fans. RVD scaled the top rope, hitting a huge high cross body onto Bigelow in the third row. Topping it, RVD hit a beautiful somersault off the top rope and onto Bigelow in the crowd in a highlight reel-worthy moment. Bigelow responded by powerbombing RVD onto the timekeeper's table. He then dropped an elbow off the apron and onto Mr. Monday Night through the table. Back in the ring, Bigelow missed a moonsault off the top rope. RVD nailed a 5-star frog splash, with Bigelow kicking out at 2. A bloody Bigelow fought back and hit a brainbuster on RVD for a 2 count. Sabu interfered, tossing a chair at the back of the head of Bigelow. The Beast from the East battled back and hoisted Sabu up for a powerbomb. Sabu jammed a foreign object into the eye of the champion, who released his grasp. RVD hit Bigelow with a Van Daminator, with Bigelow falling backwards over Sabu. Mr. Monday Night rolled up Bigelow, scoring a pinfall victory to become the new ECW World Television Champion. A Pulp Fiction montage closed the show, with the Triple Threat regrouping. ECW World Heavyweight Champion the franchise Shane Douglas talked about Wrestlepalooza and said there was a conspiracy against them. Bill Alfonso cut a frantic promo, with Sabu pointing in the air and RVD posing with his newly won gold. Paul Heyman interrupted, saying that at Wrestlepalooza, RVD would defend the television title against Sabu. The champion and challenger had a tug-of-war with the gold, with Alfonso blowing his whistle and weighing down the title. The April 14th episode of ECW TV began with Joel Gertner introducing the newest members of the Dudleys, Luke and Butch, the Bushwhackers. They faced Tommy Dreamer and the Sandman, but it was all a trap. Bubba Ray, Devon, and Big Dick Dudley attacked Dreamer and Sandman with a violent beatdown. Bubba and Devon hit Dreamer with 3D, with Sandman soon suffering the same fate. With Sandman and Dreamer weary on the ropes, Bubba and Devon reenacted a famous Tommy Dreamer moment. Bubba screamed ECW and clobbered Dreamer with a chair, while Devon waffled Sandman over his bloody forehead with a kendo stick. Sign Guy Dudley then poured beer on the fallen Sandman and Dreamer for good measure. Too Cold Scorpio raced to the ring, but was quickly nailed with 3D. After defeating Balls Mahoney and Axel Rotten, World Tag Team Champions Chris Candido and Lance Storm faced each other. Storm reversed a Candido dive into a powerbomb, scoring a pinfall victory. The Triple Threat interrupted a match between Chris Chetty and John Kronus. Bam Bam Bigelow was ferocious, hip-tossing Kronus over the top rope and through a table. ECW World Heavyweight Champion Shane Douglas got in Chetty's face, harassing him for being the cousin of Taz. Douglas said that Chetty didn't deserve the title shots he's been getting. Taz made his way to the ring, but Chetty said that he could fight his own battles. Taz slapped Chetty across the face and nailed him with a T-bone Tazplex. He said he doesn't care about anybody, but Douglas wasn't impressed. Taz was only interested in the ECW World Championship. Paul Heyman tried to have things broken up, but Douglas said this is between he and Taz. Douglas dared Taz to break his arm, downright begging him since he knew Bigelow and Candido would have his back. Taz called Douglas pathetic before wrenching at his arm. Bigelow and Taz brawled all the way to the floor and into the front row to end the show. The April 21st episode of ECW TV saw Taz interrupt Joey Styles' in-ring introduction. Taz said he's been too nice lately and declared himself the uncrowned champion. Paul Heyman threatened to cut his mic, with Taz saying that he's worked all his life to only get second place. He said no more Mr. Nice Guy, with Styles saying he was never a nice guy. Taz freaked out, with Styles trembling. The human suplex machine said he'd spare Styles, but shoved him to the mat. The main event pit Al Snow against Sabu, featuring a crazy spot where Sabu hit a Frankensteiner on Snow off the top rope and through a table. Sabu hit Air Sabu and an Arabian Press, followed by a triple jump moonsault. After crotching himself on the top rope, Sabu was dragged into the crowd by Snow, who hit an Acai moonsault into the third row. Back in the ring, Snow battered Sabu with a chair. Snow sprung off the top rope, with Sabu tossing a chair at his face on the way down. After bouncing the chair off Snow's face, Sabu hit an Arabian facebuster. RVD raced to the ring to distract the referee, while Sabu and Snow battled atop a table. Snow hoisted Sabu up for a snowplow, but Alfonso clipped his leg, sending them crashing through the table. Sabu made the cover, but RVD threw in the towel. Snow was announced as the victor, with Sabu arguing with RVD as the fans filled the ring with styrofoam heads. Wrestlepalooza 98 took place on May 3rd, live on pay-per-view. Just Incredible was joined by his entourage to face Mikey Whipwreck. They brawled around ringside, with Mikey attempting to Russian leg sweep Credible off the apron. Credible held onto the top rope, with Mikey falling backwards, cracking his head on a guardrail before bouncing off the floor. Jason got involved, battering Mikey and laying him out on a table. Mikey fought back and suplexed Credible off the steel guardrail and through the table. Soon after, Mikey hit whippersnappers on Credible and Jason. He then hit a super whippersnapper on Chastity off the second rope. Credible nailed Mikey with That's Incredible onto a steel chair and scored the pinfall victory. Joey Styles introduced the legends of Georgia wrestling, including the Junkyard Dog, Dirty Dick Slater, the Masked Superstar, and Bullet Bob Armstrong. Joey Styles introduced the ECW World Heavyweight Champion, the franchise Shane Douglas. While the champion had an injured arm that needed surgery, he was still going to compete in the main event. Douglas was interrupted by Taz, who not only wanted credit for injuring Douglas, but demanded to be handed the championship. Taz attacked Douglas, with security breaking things up. Out came Bam Bam Bigelow, who brawled with Taz. Security escorted Taz away in handcuffs, leading him into a car outside the arena. A rebellious Taz kicked out a window, with the car speeding away. Bam Bam Bigelow battled New Jack in a wild brawl that began with the two pulverizing one another with weapons. The fight spilled into the crowd, where Bigelow tossed chairs onto a bloody New Jack. The original gangsta got away from the Beast from the East, climbing to a balcony above. New Jack dove off the balcony with a guitar, smashing it over the head of Bigelow on the floor. Bigelow was bloody, but carried Jack back to the ring and spiked him with greetings from Asbury Park. The 3 count was made, and Bigelow was declared the winner. The Dudleys were in full force, with Joel Gertner attempting to give them an introduction. They were interrupted by the Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, and Beulah, kicking off a chaotic match. The Sandman was in noticeable pain from the start, but put his body through more punishment. It wasn't a smart move, as paramedics stretchered him away only minutes into the match. This left Dreamer to fend for himself, falling victim to a reverse 3D. Big Dick Dudley threw a guardrail into the ring, with Devon dropping Dreamer onto it, crotch first. Bubba and Devon grabbed steel chairs and violently sandwiched Dreamer's head with them. Spike Dudley raced to the scene, drop-kicking a guardrail to knock over his brothers. Spike nailed Bubba with an acid drop onto the steel guardrail, with Dreamer aiding him in assaulting the other members of the Dudley clan. The battle raged on, with Beulah spiking Sign Guy Dudley with a DDT. Spike was soon nailed with 3D. Wearing a neck brace, the Sandman returned, whacking the Dudleys with a Singapore cane. With Bubba and Devon woozy on the ropes, Sandman swung the cane just as Dreamer swung a steel chair, making a sickening thud on the Dudleys' heads. Dreamer and Sandman nailed double DDTs on Bubba and Devon and scored the pinfall victory. A promo aired with Bill Alfonso saying he'd be in both corners during the match between ECW World Television Champion Rob Van Dam and Sabu. The match took place with Alfonso cheering on both of his clients. Being partners and former adversaries, RVD and Sabu knew one another all too well. RVD grabbed the microphone, calling the fans gullible. He said he and Sabu had a plan, with RVD raising his partner's arm. Sabu double-crossed RVD, attacking him to continue the match. Alfonso helped Sabu set up a table, but soon helped RVD off of it. Sabu leaped onto RVD in the front row, with the battle continuing on the floor. RVD tossed a chair to Alfonso to hold for a Van Daminator, but Fonzie dropped the chair, saying he calls it right down the middle. Sabu nailed a springboard moonsault into the crowd onto RVD. In the ring, Sabu missed a triple jump moonsault, with RVD sprinting off the ropes with a leaping sidekick onto Sabu. RVD then hurdled a chair and the top rope, nailing Sabu with a somersault plancha onto the floor. Back in the ring, Sabu nailed an Arabian press on RVD. Sabu launched himself off a chair and the top rope, DDTing RVD onto a table that was sandwiched between the ring and the guardrail. The table was still intact, so Sabu nailed a Frankensteiner on RVD through it in the ring. RVD was quick to recover, hitting a leg drop off the top rope onto Sabu and a chair. Back in the ring, RVD hit Sabu with a picture-perfect Van Daminator. RVD nailed a 5-star frog splash, but Sabu kicked out at 2. Sabu hit a triple jump off the ropes onto RVD, but also only scored a 2 count. RVD monkey flipped Sabu onto a chair, but only scored a 2 count. Sabu nailed an Arabian facebuster, but soon found himself laid out on a table. RVD nailed a 5-star frog splash on Sabu through the table, but only scored a 2 count. The two scrambled for a pinfall, but the bell eventually rang to signal a time limit draw. They raised one another's hands afterwards, with Sabu grasping onto the television title. RVD snatched the title, running off and saying into the camera that Sabu can't beat him. From his dressing room, a heavily bandaged ECW World Heavyweight Champion, Shane Douglas, gave a few words. With a fractured palate, a broken arm in need of surgery, a fractured cheekbone, and infected sinuses, Douglas was going against doctors' advice. He'd go on to cut a promo on his upcoming opponent, Al Snow. He held up the championship and said Snow would have to kill him to take the title from him. In the main event, the franchise Shane Douglas defended the ECW World Heavyweight Championship against Al Snow. A sea of styrofoam heads bounced in support of Snow, while Douglas took off his arm brace. Snow wasn't shy about attacking the injured arm. Francine proved to be a great equalizer, shaking the ropes as Snow climbed to the top. Douglas and Snow battled on the floor, with Snow dropping the champion crotch first on a guardrail. Back in the ring, Douglas gained the advantage and set up a bed of steel chairs. Douglas powerbombed Snow across the steel chairs, with Snow kicking out of a pinfall attempt at 2. As Snow went for the snowplow, Chris Candido raced into the ring. Snow tossed Candido over the top rope and onto Bam Bam Bigelow. Douglas nailed a distracted Snow with a belly-to-belly suplex, but only got a 2 count. Still distracted, Snow hit an acai moonsault onto Candido and Bigelow on the floor. Douglas battled Snow in the aisle as the locker room emptied to watch the match. Back in the ring, Snow hit a high crossbody off the top rope. Douglas rolled through, with Snow kicking out at 2. Snow nailed Douglas with a snowplow, with the champion kicking out at the last moment. Francine ran in, but Snow hit her with a snowplow. Candido raced in, but Snow clobbered him with head. Snow attempted a sunset flip, but Douglas sat down for a pinfall and a victory. The fans threw the styrofoam heads into the ring as the locker room hoisted both champion Douglas and Snow on their shoulders in celebration. Douglas and Snow received a standing ovation, and the fans chanted ECW to end the broadcast. The May 12th edition of ECW TV saw Al Snow talking to Head in a stairwell about where they go from here. Snow noticed the cameraman, snapping and asking for privacy. The triple threat assembled in the ring, with Chris Candido delivering a message to his tag team championship partner, Lance Storm. Candido said that with Douglas injured, they wanted Storm to join the triple threat. Storm declined, angering the World Heavyweight Champion, Shane Douglas. The verbal lashing from Douglas changed the mind of Storm, who agreed to become a member of the group. It was a swerve, with Storm clobbering Candido with a tag team belt. This led into a match between Storm and Bam Bam Bigelow. The Beast from the East press slammed Storm, tossing him into the second row in an incredible feat of strength. Candido shoved Storm off the top rope, allowing Bigelow to hit Greetings from Asbury Park and score a pinfall victory. Rob Van Dam defended the World Television Championship against Doug Furnace. RVD launched himself off one guardrail, frog jumping the entrance and over the opposite guardrail, crashing into Furnace in the front row. The match made its way back into the ring, where Furnace backdropped RVD over the top rope and through a table that Bill Alfonso was knocked out on. Still, RVD connected with a 5-star frog splash and then applied a camel clutch on Furnace. Sabu raced in and hit both competitors with a steel chair. RVD used the same chair to nail Furnace with a Van Daminator and score a pinfall victory. Bill Alfonso cut a promo backstage saying RVD and Sabu are inseparable. This kicked off a Pulp Fiction montage with Lance Storm challenging Chris Candido to a match. In the next scene, a frantic Candido accepted the challenge and declared himself the greatest tag team wrestler of all time. Storm proposed they compete in a Dream Partner tag match. Candido chose Bam Bam Bigelow to be his partner. Storm upped the ante, saying Candido couldn't pick anybody from the triple threat. Candido was angry, saying he was coming for blood. He chose Sabu to be his partner. Storm introduced his partner, World Television Champion Rob Van Dam. The May 19th episode of ECW TV featured footage from the show that was appropriately titled It Ain't Seinfeld, as it was recorded the same night as the legendary sitcom's final episode. Taz interrupted Joey Styles' introduction, saying that nobody wants to admit that he's the real world champion. He said he's no longer the uncrowned champion, unveiling his own belt. Taz called it the FTW title, calling out ECW World Heavyweight Champion Shane Douglas to battle for the belts. Instead, Bam Bam Bigelow came to the ring and said that the only way to Douglas was through him. Officials came between the two, with Bigelow tossing referee John Pee Wee Moore into the third row. Taz and Bigelow brawled, with Atlas security separating them. Justin Credible battled Jerry Lynn in an exciting bout that saw Lynn hit a somersault plancha into the crowd and onto Credible. Jason threw Credible a chair, which he used to drop toe hold Lynn onto face first. Credible launched off the top, with Lynn kicking the chair into Credible's face. Lynn then delivered a bulldog to Credible onto the chair. Jason attacked Lynn on the floor, throwing him back into the ring for Credible. Lynn reversed a suplex and DDT'd Credible. Jason knocked Lynn off the top rope, allowing Credible to lift Lynn up for That's Incredible. Lynn reversed it, spiking Credible in the center of the ring and scoring a big victory. Backstage, ECW World Heavyweight Champion Shane Douglas commented on Taz creating his own title. Douglas scoffed at it and said he'd show the fans at the ECW arena who the true champion really is. In the main event, Rob Van Dam defended the World Television Championship against Mikey Whipwreck. Sabu interfered, putting Whipwreck through a table to show up RVD. Jealous, RVD attacked Sabu, which brought out Chris Candido. It was a 2-on-1 attack on RVD, with Lance Storm running in to make the save. The brawling continued, with the locker room emptying to separate the four men. As the chaos continued, the show went off the air. The May 26th edition of ECW TV featured footage from a Matter of Respect 98 from the ECW arena. It began with Joey Styles introducing the ECW World Heavyweight Champion Shane Douglas, who was joined by Francine, Bam Bam Bigelow, and Chris Candido. Douglas bragged about competing injured at Wrestlepalooza until Taz interrupted his promo. Carrying the FTW Championship, Taz said he was only there to talk business. Taz said he respects Douglas and then did the unthinkable. Taking off his track jacket, Taz revealed he was wearing a triple threat shirt. Taz said he was willing to watch the champion's back, but wanted a shot at the ECW title once Douglas was healthy. In a mind-blowing scene, they all raised their hands in the air, raising the 3 fingers. Once Taz was alone in the ring with Douglas, he attacked the champion's injured arm. Bigelow attacked Taz, with Atlas security pulling them apart. Taz choked out one of the security guards with a Taz mission before the show's intro ran. Highlights aired from a 2 out of 3 falls match between Jerry Lynn and Just Incredible. Lynn attempted to springboard off the timekeeper's table onto Credible in the crowd. Instead, Lynn tripped and landed ribs first onto the guardrail, allowing Credible to inflict more damage. In the ring, Credible hit Lynn with a belly-to-back suplex onto a chair. Lynn reversed That's Incredible, spiking Credible to score a pinfall victory and win the first fall. The tides turned in the second fall, with Lynn busted open. Credible won, drilling Lynn with That's Incredible for a pinfall victory. Lynn came alive in the third fall, nailing Credible with a Frankensteiner off the top rope and through the timekeeper's table on the floor. Back in the ring, Lynn nailed Credible with That's Incredible. Jason ran in, with Lynn spiking him with That's Incredible. Chastity delivered a low blow to Lynn, allowing Credible to roll him up and score the pinfall victory. The Dream Partner Tag Team match took place, with Chris Candido and Sabu facing Lance Storm and the World Television Champion Rob Van Dam. It was an all-out war from the get-go, with all 4 battling around ringside. Sabu launched himself off of Candido, hitting a splash on Storm on the timekeeper's table below. Meanwhile, RVD hit a 5-star frog splash onto Candido, who barely kicked out before 3. Candido hit a big superplex on RVD, with Sabu then hitting an Arabian facebuster off the top rope. Storm hit Sabu with a high cross body, with Candido breaking up the pin attempt at 2. RVD and Sabu dueled with chairs, with Sabu winning the exchange. Sabu hit a triple jump moonsault, mocking both RVD and the triple threat afterwards. Candido was insulted and attacked Sabu from behind. Storm clobbered Candido and Sabu with a chair, nearly striking RVD by accident. RVD ended up hitting a Van Daminator on Storm on purpose. Sabu put Candido in a camel clutch and held a chair in front of his face. RVD then drop-kicked said chair into Candido's face. Sabu and RVD nailed Storm with Rolling Thunder, with the fans chanting ECW. RVD and Sabu held up the tag team titles and then high-fived one another. The main event of A Matter of Respect 98 saw the Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray, Devon, and Big Dick battle the Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, and Little Spike Dudley in a Stairway to Hell match. Surprisingly, the bout began as a straight-up wrestling match, with each displaying their legitimate wrestling ability. Naturally, things broke down, with all 6 brawling around ringside. With each Dudley in a corner, including Sign Guy, Tied in a tree of woe, Beulah joined Dreamer, Sandman, and Spike in drop-kicking chairs into the faces of the Dudleys. Joel Gertner was fuming, challenging Beulah to face him. Meanwhile, Jeff Jones knocked out referee Jim Molyneux. Beulah locked up with Gertner and clawed at his chest. Gertner kissed her, with Beulah kicking him in the balls and setting him up for a DDT. Jones tried to help Gertner, but suffered the same fate. Beulah drilled both with a big DDT. Sandman and Dreamer clobbered Bubba and Devon simultaneously with chair shots. Spike dove off the top rope with a trash can, denting it over the head of Big Dick. Dreamer brought a ladder into the ring, bulldogging Devon onto it. He leapt off the top rope with a big splash, but Devon moved, and Dreamer landed on the steel ladder. Sandman made the save, bashing each Dudley with the ladder. Dreamer climbed the ladder, nearly reaching the barbed wire, until Big Dick shoved Sandman into the ladder, knocking it over and sending Dreamer tumbling to the mat. Bubba laid the ladder across the corner of the ring and powerbombed Spike onto it. Climbing the ladder, Bubba put on protective gloves and threw down the barbed wire. A bloody Devon hit a sidewalk slam on Dreamer onto the barbed wire. Covered in blood, Spike began whipping Bubba and Devon with the barbed wire. Spike jumped off the top of the ladder, with Bubba catching him with a Bubba cutter. Bubba hoisted Spike up for a Bubba bomb, but Spike wiggled free. Spike nailed Bubba with a low blow, and then nailed an acid drop on him onto the ladder. Shortly after, Sandman drilled Devon with a DDT and scored the pinfall victory. The June 2nd episode of ECW TV began with Taz breaking up a dance-off between the Full-Blooded Italians and the Blue Meanie and Supernova. Bam Bam Bigelow attacked Taz, with a brawl erupting between the two. Atlas Security got involved to restrain both men. Rob Van Dam defended the World Television Championship against one half of the World Tag Team Champions, Lance Storm. Sabu interrupted, attacking Storm and putting him through a table with a triple jump splash. RVD proceeded to win the match with a split-legged moonsault. Chris Candido got involved, fighting aside Storm to fend off RVD and Sabu. In the main event, the Sandman, Tommy Dreamer, and Spike Dudley battled Bubba Ray, Devon, and Big Dick Dudley. It was wild, and saw Beulah join Dreamer, Sandman, and Spike in drop-kicking chairs into the faces of the Dudleys, including Sign Guy. Referees Jim Molyneux and Jeff Jones brawled, with Molyneux delivering a DDT simultaneously as Beulah DDT'd Joel Gertner. Dreamer introduced a ladder, but was soon handcuffed to the top rope by Big Dick. Spike dove off the top of a ladder right into a Bubba cutter. On the floor, Dick handcuffed Sandman to a guardrail. Spike hit an acid drop on Bubba onto the ladder, with Devon breaking up the pinfall. Sign Guy knocked out Molyneux, while Devon prepared to clobber Dreamer with a chair. Beulah intervened, begging Devon not to hurt Dreamer. Bubba and Devon hit Beulah with 3D, with Dreamer crying, helpless, and cuffed to the top rope. New Jack raced to the scene with a barrel full of weapons. He battered the Dudleys, clobbering them with weapons. Jack Victory intervened, attacking New Jack and busting a guitar over his head. The show ended with the Dudleys and Victory raising their arms as the show faded to black. The June 9th episode of ECW TV saw the Dudley Boys and Joel Gertner cut a promo in front of an ambulance. The ambulance doors swung open, with Devon violating a blow-up doll dressed like Bigelow. With Lance Storm's flight delayed, Chris Candido was allowed to choose a partner to defend the World Tag Team titles. He initially chose Bam Bam Bigelow, which offended the World Heavyweight Champion, the franchise Shane Douglas. The champion said that despite an upcoming operation, he can handle himself as Candido's partner. Shane Douglas led the triple threat to the ring, where he cut a promo on World Television Champion Rob Van Dam. Douglas called him nothing more than a high flyer. Douglas and Candido defended the World Tag Team titles against RVD and Sabu. Things were out of control, with Francine and Bill Alfonso getting in on the action. Taz interfered, wrenching at the injured arm of Douglas. Bam Bam Bigelow ran in, attacking Taz and brawling with him on the floor. Meanwhile, Candido laid on a table in the middle of the ring. RVD and Sabu launched off opposite corners with flying leg drops, putting Candido through the table. RVD scored the pinfall victory, but we cut away to the parking lot where Bigelow whipped Taz into the side of a car, busting a window as the show went off the air. The June 16th edition of ECW TV featured a Rumble-style South Philadelphia street fight. Every 2 minutes, a new person would join the fray, starting with Bubba Ray Dudley against the Sandman. It was a duel between the Singapore cane and a steel chair, with Sandman winning with the cane. It wasn't long as Bubba clobbered Sandman over the head with the chair. Jack Victory was the third entrant, joining Bubba in attacking Sandman. Bubba taunted Sandman over the microphone until Tommy Dreamer raced in with barbed wire. Dreamer raked the barbed wire across the foreheads of both Victory and Bubba. Soon, Dreamer tossed Victory over the top rope and through a table. Devon joined the street fight next, while Bubba punched Sandman, whose head was wrapped in barbed wire. Sign Guy and Joel Gertner taunted Dreamer with a blow-up doll dressed as Bigelow. Spike Dudley entered next, diving off the top of a ladder onto his brothers below. Big Dick Dudley entered next as the chaos continued. New Jack was the final participant, introducing a shopping cart full of weapons. Jack dove off the top rope with a chair, only for Victory to swing a guitar at him. Victory scored the pinfall victory on New Jack to give his team the victory. Jerry Lynn and Just Incredible continued their feud, this time competing in an I Quit match. Jason and Nicole Bass got involved, attacking Lynn on the floor while Chastity distracted the referee. The interference persisted, with Lynn soon taking out each member of the entourage. Credible nailed Lynn with a low blow and soon put him through the timekeeper's table with a reverse DDT. Minutes later, Lynn made Credible submit in the middle of the ring, stretching his shoulder and fishhooking his mouth. The June 23rd episode of ECW TV began with Tommy Dreamer calling out any member of the Dudley Boys to face him. Devon ran in first, with Dreamer pounding on him. The rest of the Dudley clan attacked Dreamer, with Bubba and Devon nailing a 3D. Spike Dudley, Balls Mahoney, Axel Rotten, and New Jack ran in for the save, with the Dudleys retreating. In the locker room, the Dudley Boys, Jack Victory, and Joel Gertner cut a promo bragging about injuring Bigelow. The lights went out, with Tommy Dreamer and the Sandman attacking in the dark. Joel Gertner wailed in the background as Atlas Security broke things up in a wild scene. With his head bandaged, Bubba Ray Dudley came to the ring with Joel Gertner, who mocked Beulah's injury. Bubba followed, making disparaging remarks about Beulah. The Sandman interrupted, leading to an impromptu match. Bubba clobbered Sandman with his own Singapore cane, mocking him before taking the fight to the floor. The Sandman battled back and suplexed a table onto Bubba. Things took a strange turn when Bubba got into a physical confrontation with a fan. The rest of the Dudleys raced to the scene, as well as Paul Heyman, who revealed that the fan was actually Beulah's brother. He hopped the guardrail looking for a fight, but was no match for Bubba. Tommy Dreamer raced to the scene, with Spike Dudley in tow. A brawl erupted, with the locker room emptying to partake in the violence. It was pure chaos, with the fans chanting ECW. The June 30th episode of ECW TV emanated from the ECW arena and began with Joey Styles introducing the ECW World Heavyweight Champion, the franchise, Shane Douglas. Led to the ring by Francine and the Triple Threat, Douglas bragged about returning from surgery and showed off his scars. The champion called out Taz, calling him a pretender and a has-been. Douglas said that Taz had pissed off the wrong people. This brought out Taz, who said he didn't recognize Douglas as a champion. Taz showed off his FTW title, saying it means something to him. This led to Taz and Bam Bam Bigelow having an impromptu match, which wasn't shown on television. Balls Mahoney was in action against FMW superstar Masato Tanaka. After a hard-hitting back-and-forth battle in the ring, they took the fight into the crowd. Making their way back to the ring, they dueled with steel chairs, each taking carelessly brutal chair shots to the head. The crowd fueled the competitors, who massively dented their chairs over one another's skulls. Tanaka nailed a tornado DDT on Mahoney onto steel chairs and scored the pinfall victory. The Dudleys and Joel Gertner stood in the ring, with Sign Guy sporting a cast on his leg from the locker room attack by Tommy Dreamer and the Sandman. Bubba carried a blow-up doll that was supposed to be dressed like Beulah. Gertner insulted Beulah and ordered ring announcer Bob Ortiz to ring the bell 10 times in memory of her career. Ortiz refused, so Devon rang the bell himself. Tommy Dreamer came to the ring with a fence post wrapped in barbed wire, while Sandman carried his Singapore cane as well as a ladder. Bubba, Devon and Big Dick Dudley brawled with Dreamer and Sandman, who still held their own. Dreamer and Sandman introduced their mystery partner, the founder of FMW, Atsushi Onita. But it was a ruse, as Onita attacked Dreamer and Sandman with the barbed wire. Onita then drank Sandman's beer and poured some out over him. New Jack raced in with a barrel full of weapons, only for Jack Victory to smash a guitar over the back of his head. Spike Dudley ran in to attack his brothers, only for Big Dick to toss him over the top rope and through the timekeeper's table. The beatdown continued in brutal fashion, with the Sandman wrapped in barbed wire and a bloody mess. Bubba hit a senton bomb onto a ladder with Dreamer buried underneath. Jeff Jones attacked referee Jim Molyneux and then made the 3 count to give the Dudley Boys the victory. RTs refused to make the announcement, with Gertner stealing the microphone to announce the Dudleys as the winners. Chris Candido and Lance Storm defended the ECW World Tag Team titles against the ECW World Television Champion Rob Van Dam and Sabu. Both teams traded beautiful high-risk maneuvers in the early minutes of the match. Sabu took to the air, launching himself off a chair and diving onto Candido in the second row. Minutes later, Candido hit a Frankensteiner on Sabu off the top rope and through a table. With RVD and Sabu laid out on a table in the middle of the ring, Candido and Storm climbed to the top rope of opposite corners of the ring. Candido jumped first, with RVD and Sabu moving and Candido crashing through the table. Alfonso held up a chair while RVD leapt off the top rope, sidekicking it against the skull of Lance Storm. Candido and Storm were now laid out on the table, with RVD and Sabu leaping from opposite corners, sending the champions crashing through the table. RVD inched over to cover Candido, but Sabu beat him to it and scored the pinfall victory. Sabu and RVD were crowned the new ECW World Tag Team Champions. What challenges would face the new champions in the second half of the year? Find out next time on Squared Circle History.